Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Razak at CMTrading. Today is June 13th, 2018, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the economic events of the day, starting out at 10:30 South African time, out of United Kingdom, yearly CPI number coming out. That's an important event related to inflation. So just be aware of that coming out early this morning. Then later this afternoon, 2:30 South African time, monthly PPI number coming out. Not a major number, just to be aware that it's coming out. And then at 4:30 South African time, weekly oil inventories coming out. But the most important part of the day, obviously, at 8 o'clock South African time, FOMC rate decision later this evening, and then it's followed by a press conference at 8:30. Okay, so the markets have been a little bit low, and we're at certain thresholds. And let's take a look at what's been happening. Okay, so we're jumping here into the Euro USD, and as you can see, we capitulated at 118.19. We've been trading between this tighter range, I would say about 60 pips, between 1734-ish level and 1820-ish level, as you can see here. And we never really hit that resistance line earlier this week. And as you can see, we're faltering here, coming a little bit, on the downside of the trading range. Okay, so the question is this going to get weaker versus the dollar? Was this just a dead cat bounce and we're just going to come back underneath the 1691? So I think we'll have more direction today after the FOMC meeting. If we look at the GBP USD, didn't even bounce on the upside and just really very weak here. Okay, so it could be that we'll test these lows again of 132, as this is all going on the back of President Trump meeting with North Korea premier. So this is kind of interesting that the dollar is getting stronger across the board, respective of its currency. Looking at the Swiss franc, as we spoke about it yesterday, it took a little bit of a continued its rally here, but not hitting this resistance line. Okay, so it's not as I guess you could say as volatile. It's not as responsive to the dollar as we would like it to be. Okay, you're looking at the RSI, you could see that it's faltering here already in the middle. So what this means is that it may take a little bit longer until it does hit that trend line. Now, if you look at the Aussie USD, just very quickly. Okay, now we're faltering here on the Aussie USD. It's coming right back to the 75, 6-ish level. Okay, so I think what's happening is that the markets are responding to the pre-FOMC situation, and they're just, taking a breather right now and having that confirmation instead of, being at the top of the move, being somewhere in the middle, so that, when the news does come out, we could, trade accordingly. Now, USD Japanese yen here trading at 110-ish level, as you can see here, a possible resistance level here. Now, if we do break it, this could definitely go back up into the 114 level. So this is really a pivotal moment for the USD Japanese yen and the Canadian dollar. Looking at the Canadian dollar right here at 130.29-ish. Okay, so we're really at the top of the range. If we look at a weekly chart, you'll see we're really closing in at this top of the range. Now, this is part of the economic wars that are anticipated to happen between the United States and Canada, both countries adding tariffs where they previously didn't. So this is kind of interesting the way this will work out. I think ultimately the United States will win because it's a much bigger economy, and the Canadian economy is really somewhat subservient or dependent on the American economy. So I don't see any, big changes there, but it may be a big change versus the Canadian dollar. The Canadian dollar may continue to get weaker versus the dollar as this takes the showdown. Now, looking at oil here, like I said earlier this week, we've been trading between the 66 and 64-ish level, and nothing has changed here. Okay, I guess we're just looking for confirmation later this week that we'll still be in this area. Okay, between today and going into the rest of the month. So, looking at oil, we are at the top of the range. OPEC is, increasing its surplus, to meet demand down the line. And I think that that's what's been happening. So the markets have pretty much settled a certain price for the price of oil, I think, for now, until we do see some sort of breakout or if there is some sort of surprise. So right here at the top of the range, if the production is still what it is and output is still what it is, we may see a sell-off back to the $64 range. Now, looking at the Dow Jones, as this FOMC meeting is coming tonight and the rate decision. We're trading at 25,345. Now, we haven't been at this area for quite some time, since March to be exact, and that was responsive to, you know, the massive sell-off that we had, and then we had this head and shoulder, okay, which presented itself with a head and shoulder previously, you know, right here. That would be the shoulder, that would be the second shoulder, and right here would be the head, right? So, you know, ultimately, so this was a downwards momentum. We tested this 23,500-ish level several times, tested the 24,242-ish level, and we just took it up. So right here is a really pivotal moment for the Dow Jones, okay? It could find ourselves back to the 25,000 level, okay? Or it could find us, you know, if the FOMC comes out with a positive outlook and, you know, they're going to keep their hands off the trigger in terms of increasing interest rates, we could see it continue going back up to the high 25,000 area. So that's really important to take note today as we continue to trade, you know, with this number coming out. Now, another point to make out is the DAX. The DAX, again, is at the top of its range, but hasn't broken out. So it's looking very tempting that the indices want to break out, but we need some sort of confirmation. We need that follow through on the upside and that volume for it to continue going up higher. So that's what I'd like to look for today. Now, of note, Bitcoin this morning, actually, if you look at it, we had a gap down, okay, a big gap down yesterday, earlier this week, as we've been looking here at, from 75 to $6,500. So 6,500 Bitcoins, okay, so a big gap down for Bitcoin, which means it's getting weaker, okay. Now, if we do break this 6,500-ish level, okay, we could see it falter down further to the 5,000, maybe 2,000, maybe 4,000. So this is really a massive pullback, okay. What generally happens with a pullback like this is that we, you know, close the gap, okay, maybe gave some opportunities for people to jump into it. But looking at it, you know, from a technical point of view, you know, if it does break this level, that's massive, okay, because it could really correct itself back to the 1,000 Bitcoin level, okay. So that's really important to keep note of it as we're looking at this new type of, you know, cryptocurrency to be trading. This is indicative. This is very, very indicative of this type of, you know, newness to the market, you know, not having enough volume in it, people, you know, being scared of it, and, you know, having these massive volatilities. So it's really important to note that when you're trading these type of currencies or these type of cryptocurrencies, okay? So just be aware of that as we falter later today. If we do falter later today, just to, you know, be on the right side. So again, FOMC coming out later today, 8 o'clock. Most volatile thing to trade is probably the Dow Jones. Euro USD at the top of its range, but, you know, pretty much, you know, trading between the 118-ish level and 116-ish level. So just be aware of that within those time frames. Okay, so trade responsibly. Make sure you're taking stop losses. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.